Mike Owens with Inside Fighting, joined today by Modestas Bukauskas, who returns to action at UFC Paris facing Paul Craig. Modestas, always good to see you, even better in person.
Very good to see you, my brother. Yeah, very good. Always feeling tired and sore, but this is part of the game, man. Love this life, so yeah, just keeping it going, man.
You're becoming a bit of a adopted northerner now. You spend quite a lot of time up here. You're starting to get the accent.
I'm literally up north more than I'm back home in London, to be fair. But yeah, the accent isn't going to catch on quite as quickly. But yeah, no, man, I actually really like it up here. The people are cool. Obviously, the training out here is really great, and yeah, it's just like almost become like a second home now. So yeah, it's nice.
How have the lads in the gym been treating you? Obviously, it's this light heavyweight squad that's being assembled is something to behold for this country.
Oh, mate, it's absolutely amazing. Like I say, it all just started off by me just messaging Tom on Instagram. Straight away messaged me back, told me to message his dad, and then yeah, we kind of got it all coordinated, came up here. First time I spent about a week up here just to see what the training's like and what the structure is, and then I sort of just coordinated my own training back at home in London to up here, and then yeah, I've pretty much been spending all my camps up here. And yeah, like I say, the guys are absolutely great up there. The camaraderie is amazing. Everyone's just just trying to get each other better. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's just trying to level up in as many ways as possible, and everyone's just trying to get to the top. And it's amazing because, like I say, everyone's like highly motivated, and everyone just wants to see everyone do well. And that's the type of vibe that you want going into a training camp. And it's nice to go into a gym like feeling like completely relaxed and getting the work in. And yeah, no, I've really been enjoying it.
Have you ever trained in a similar environment in terms of that many big bodies to go with?
I think ages ago when I trained at Jackson Wink for a little bit, there were obviously quite a lot of big bodies there, but that's expected, going out to a big gym in America. But in the UK, not really. Like this is the first time really where you've got pretty much like 10 heavyweights on the mat side. It's not often that you see that. I call it the land of the giants, and I'm like the pipsqueak out of the group. Do you know what I mean? I'm the small guy. Everyone says always when we take photos at the end, they're like, mate, I thought you were big, but then I saw this picture and I'm like, that's not the case anymore. So yeah, and especially the first time I came up here, I just noticed the size difference. It really does make a difference in terms of your training and like leveling up, because now I'm able to handle like bigger bodies and stuff like that. Whereas before, training with slightly lighter guys, even middleweights, it's not the same like, training with a heavyweight. You think you can do the same moves and you think you've got the technicalities, but then when you go with a bigger body, stronger, and they still got the technical ability, it's a lot harder. So yeah, it's definitely been a growing process, but I've been very grateful for that.
And the main man, the man with the belt, Tom Aspinall, finally has a fight against Ciryl Gane. He must be super motivated going into this.
Do you know what? He's always been motivated. Obviously, it was a bit of a hard time for him. Obviously with all the negotiations with John Jones, like, is it happening? Is it not? Everyone asking him all the time and stuff like this. But he's always been in the gym. He's always been training. He's always stayed dedicated. He's always stayed on his diet. Doing 2 sessions a day. And just being ready for when the opportunity did arrive. So he's kind of just been sort of going along the same thing, like just doing the same thing the whole time. So like I say, for me, it's just also very inspiring just seeing the way that he conducts himself inside the cage, outside of the cage, the way he conducts his life and stuff like that. Proper family man as well, and the way that he gets along with his dad is very similar to how I get along with my dad. So yeah, mate, and I'm very happy for him because I know it's been a long time coming for him. But like I say, he's always been in shape, and now it's just about just sort of turning the gears up a little bit and just fine tuning everything for this fight. And I know he's going to be he's very excited, obviously, to get back out there again.
Let's turn the conversation to yourself. I think when the matchup was announced, there was a lot of excitement mixed with a little bit of surprise, if I can be honest. What was your first reaction when you got offered the name Paul Craig?
Yeah, so in my head, I was sort of hoping that I would get a top 15 matchup, since I've beaten 3 guys in a row, with two finishes. One guy now who's like sort of right on the cusp of the top 15 in Ion Cutelaba. So yeah, I was kind of like gunning for a top 15 matchup, but Paul Craig, he's a very well-established guy in the light heavyweight division and in the middleweight division. Although he's had a couple of losses here, but he's fought the top competition, and he's fought the top competition of both middleweight and light heavyweight. He's beaten champions, so he's very dangerous. So for me, this is now a chance for me to really prove myself, to show how good I am, to get myself solidified as a main guy, a mainstay within the light heavyweight division, and stake my claim for that top 15 spot. I definitely feel a big win here will get me that. So when I got the name, obviously, like I said in my head, I was like, I wanted to get a top 15 matchup, but this is perfect. This is like, okay, go out there, prove yourself, do what you got to do, and then that will happen for you. And like I say, this is a domestic matchup that's sort of been in the making for years, because I thought that we're probably going to fight a little bit earlier on down the line, and it just so happens that it happens now. So this is now the matchup to see who's got the #1 spot in the UK at light heavyweight.
Why did you think the matchup would come earlier? Was there a reason for that? Was there a discussion?
I don't know. I just thought that him being in the mix with the light heavyweights and stuff like that, and when I entered the UFC, I thought that was a matchup that could potentially happen. I know my coaches were thinking, oh yeah, that might be a fight that they'll make, like in a London show or something like this. So yeah, and like I say, because we're both from the UK, it would have made sense, being on the London card and stuff like that. But I knew at some point, like I say, that this fight would happen, and eventually it's come to light.
Talking about the training room we were discussing earlier, have your paths ever crossed in a training capacity?
No, we haven't. I know at one point, I believe Paul did train with the guys up here at Tom's team. I'm not sure for how long it was, but it's funny, our paths have never crossed in the training room or in fighting. It's only just now that, like I say, it's come to fruition. But I mean, from what I can see, he seems like a very nice guy. A gentleman, obviously goes out there with a lot of intensity. And ultimately we get to throw down in September. So obviously very looking forward to that.
I was trying to work out today before I made the journey down, because there's been a lot of British rivalries in like boxing and other combat sports, but there's never to my knowledge, I can't think of a super big British rivalry in MMA. The biggest one that was coming to mind was MVP and Paul Daly in Bellator a couple of years ago. Is the one that's coming to mind for you?
I think I'm on the same level as you. Like I don't really know if there's any big rivalries. Like I say, everyone's just in and around the game. And even at light heavyweight, for example, like with me and Paul, there hasn't been many guys that have been in the UFC from the UK at light heavyweight. So in terms of like rivalries there, I can't see any other matchups that come to mind.
No.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about your last fight, because you got a lot of criticism, probably undeservedly so, about the last fight against Cutelaba. What did you make of that, and how have you processed that?
Yeah, so obviously in my head, I thought I definitely won 2 rounds. I've watched it back many times. My dad's watched it back. I definitely felt I was landing the more devastating strikes, the more meaningful strikes. If you're counting shots that are in the clinch, like kind of here or there, as being significant, then I don't really know where those sort of stats come from. But I just take it all on my stride. I felt like I was a little bit more hesitant, just because of the pressure of the fight. Fighting a guy that's going, like leading towards like I said, the top 15 of the division. I feel like I needed that fight. I needed a fight against a high-profile guy, comes out very aggressive, intense. At the weigh-ins and stuff like this. So I felt like I needed to get past that sort of challenge in order to move myself forward in my career. And you look at the commentary and what people are saying online. A lot of people are just like following along what everyone else is saying. In my opinion, so they see one person say robbery, and then it's like, okay, yeah, and then it just goes around in a circle. But it's funny because I put up a video on Instagram, like just showing like the highlights from the fight, and I had like 50-50, like in terms of good responses and bad responses. The way I look at it is, the more people are talking about you, the better, whether it's good or bad. So whether they want to see me win or they want to see me lose, they're watching, and that's really what you need. You need people to be grasped and like sort of taken in by what it is that you're doing out in the cage. So, you know, whether they're talking good or bad, like I say, at first, initially, obviously, when you see the comments, like, you know, you kind of get down on yourself because you're like, oh, you know, I felt like I fought a good fight, and, you know, unfortunately, other people aren't seeing it that way. But I take it all on my stride. I take that as like a learning curve, learning process. You know, okay, how like I was straight back into the gym, like literally the week, like as soon as I got back home. You know, I was. Funny story as well. I was walking around in London just through Green Park, just by myself on the Monday. As soon as I got home, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go into London, just walk around and just sort of gather my thoughts. And a guy just literally just came up to me randomly. He's like, oh, hey, is that Modestas? I was like, yeah. He was like, mate, that was an absolutely amazing fight. I thought that was incredible. Mate, you must be feeling over the moon and stuff like that. And I was like, to be honest, mate, not really. Like, you know what I mean? I felt like I could have fought a lot better. A lot of people were saying this and saying that. And he was like, mate, you shouldn't listen to what anyone thinks. I thought you fought absolutely amazing. And he literally took time out of his day. I know he was probably like rushing off, like, you know, busy, like doing stuff. And he took like 15 minutes out of his day just to talk to me and just like sort of console with me and stuff like that. And I thought that was very sweet, you know? Yeah. And like I say, that kind of brought my mindset a little bit better about the decision. But look, in my eyes and in many people's eyes, I definitely won 2 of those 3 rounds. I felt like the scorecards were a little bit funny, like 30-27 one way, 30-27 the other way. I felt if anything, a split decision with a 29-28 would have made more sense. And yeah, obviously, you heard the commentary team and stuff like this, you know, being very critical. But like I said, I take that as a learning curve. I take that as, okay, well, how can I improve from this fight? Obviously, there wasn't my best performance, but it's like, okay, how can we go on to make sure that I do put on those good performances? So I just took it like, okay, if that's what they think in this fight, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen in the next fight, and that will be even more well prepared and ready to go and put on a much more spectacular performance.
Yeah, I love that. I want to bring you back to a recent Instagram post, and you were talking about this has been over a 10-year journey in professional martial arts for you, and you said something that kind of really struck me on the post. You said that you're now on the brink of making it all a reality. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always, since I've played any sport, you know, or since I've started this whole MMA journey, like I've wanted to be considered as one of the best in the world. You know, I wanted to win the championship. I want to be holding the belt, you know, and stuff like this. And it's funny because it's been such a long job. I've had my ups and downs. Like, you know, I've had my really dark times in my career and stuff like this. And now we're just sort of like I say, building myself back up. But it's like to think where we were when I just got injured against Khalil Roundtree, cut from the UFC, thinking, you know, what's going to happen next? Then coming back to Cage Warriors, winning the belt, getting back to the UFC, winning on short notice. And it's like, you know, the thoughts that I've always had in my head about climbing the ladder and going towards the top and holding the belt, now it's like it's within reaching distance. You know, it's now not such a far dream. You know, I've now got into the first dream or goal was to even be in the UFC, and now we've done it for a second time. And now it's like I say, now we're knocking on the door of the top 15, and then, you know, once you're knocking on the door of the top 15, you work your way up and you're getting towards that title shot. So you know, that's why I say it's on the brink of making it reality, because all those things that I've been dreaming about, been thinking about, like constantly over these years, like when I started doing my career, it's like now, like we're literally in touching distance of it, and it's crazy to think that I had to have all of these like setbacks in order to get me prepared for what's to come. So yeah, like I say, it's just very exciting for me because I know how good I am. I know what skills I possess, and all I have to do is go out and show it. And I feel like I'm on the right path. I've made the right adjustments, and yeah, like I say, we're on the brink.
Last question from me. Thank you for your time.
No worries.
When Dana enters the media room, hopefully in Paris, I know he doesn't turn up to every single show, but here's hoping that he does, and a reporter, maybe me, maybe somebody else, asks him about your fight, what do you want him to say?
I want them to say, wow, like this guy just like he's put on the best performance of his whole career. That is a completely different Modestas. He was very aggressive. You know, he was landing some big shots, and he's really like he's made a statement here. You know, that's what I'm expecting everyone to say. Like, wow, he's really made a statement against a top guy in the division, a guy that's literally been within the top 10 of the light heavyweight division. Now this guy is making his mark as being a true title contender.
I love it, mate. Listen, pleasure catching up. Thank you for giving us some of your time.
Thank you so much. You're the man, brother. It's always great speaking to you.
Good to see you, mate.
Nice one.